Most attorneys think you need hundreds of cases to succeed.
A lot of younger attorneys are realizing that. You don't need 1,000 or 2,000, 3,000 cases to be successful.
Carlos Dominguez built 305 Injury and hit $1.3 million in settlements in year one with zero staff and zero ad spend.
I'm way more successful than I ever thought I would be.
I'm Chris Stryer, and on this episode of Personal Injury Mastermind, Carlos joins me to break down how he did it.
You got to break your back for this to do what you're doing as a solo practitioner. So I would only encourage people to just make a plan and do it.
We talk strategy, mindset, and what it really takes to stand out in one of the most competitive PI markets in the country. Let's get into it.
I have a fledgling boutique law firm, virtual law firm. We do personal injury. I've had my law firm for about a year and 2 months. We were able to successfully resolve approximately $1.3 million in a year. My first settlement coming in 6 months into I started off like any attorney with zero knowledge of opening up their own business. For 6 months, I was just trying to figure things out. I'm trying to get cases. I'm trying to build a presence online. And the case that I settled, thankfully, we were able to get it resolved pretty quick. And it was definitely mind-blowing to me because after having 6 months, this is the first time in my life where I hadn't really earned an income. So for 6 months, I was just relying on my savings. I'm pretty much the paralegal receptionist attorney. We're looking to hire now, but back then I was running the whole game, unfortunately.
Well, I think this is a lot of fun. I remember the peanut butter and fluff days were mine, and the ramen noodles back in the day.
Yeah.
When I started the agency, I was bootstrapped, so it was like tight, and I get that. So it's great that you got some momentum now. But
yeah,
how did you originate this case, and how are you approaching marketing out of the gate?
We're starting to see more of a trend in terms of young attorneys like me that want to start off on their own. In terms of obtaining these cases, at the very beginning, it's all word of mouth. I didn't have the money to utilize SEO and Google Ads and all that sort of jazz, which I'm sure that's a whole other podcast in and of itself. But I didn't have that, so I had to reach out to all my friends, all my family, all my colleagues. I got to harass them, let them know what I'm doing. And one of my friends reached out to me with a case, and we ran with it. I had to file a lawsuit, and we were able to be pretty successful in that one. It's all about reaching out to your group, reaching out to your circle, shaking hands with a lot of people, letting people know what you're doing. It's truly a humbling experience when you get a phone call, when you get a case. Now we're getting a lot more cases, but at the very beginning, very humbling experience.
Yeah, and I appreciate the hustle, the friends and family, and getting belly to belly and doing the things that don't scale. I know we're going to talk about client service in a moment, and giving out your personal number. Volume firms can't do that. They can't give the high touch to that degree. I mean, they can do the automations and things like that. Have you tried just spitballing here? Have you tried meeting with the local PI attorneys, and maybe they have a case selection threshold, and maybe have you had any success? Have you talked to any, without naming firms, just have you had any success there?
Yeah, I have. And in fact, I think a large amount of cases that I receive are from other attorneys who don't necessarily want to litigate those cases, or they're just not interested in the cases because, the damages aren't too high or aren't high enough to justify their involvement, their time, their money invested in those cases. They may have way more volume than I do. So I take advantage of that, and I get myself involved in a lot of other groups with other PI attorneys who have volume practices. They don't necessarily handle the amount of litigation that I handle. Primarily what I do is litigation. So I take on personal injury cases, either from other attorneys or my own cases that I originate, and I just file lawsuits on them. That to me is what it means to be an attorney. And, naturally you do receive better results on those cases once they are involved in litigation. But definitely in the very beginning, I think if you're starting off, you want to create your own brand, So for me, I'm the guy that if you want to, your case is getting denied, or you're not getting the offers you want, and you really want to hammer them down, you want to send it to an attorney who, not just me, obviously, but other people that do handle litigation, that don't have the amount of cases that you do and can dedicate way more time on those cases. You want to sort of invest in those attorneys. So yeah, I have gotten a lot of cases from other attorneys I met down the road.
The trial chops that you have, and it's a ton of energy, and you're
Yeah.
very involved in these. So walk me through that, the how you became a trial attorney, and
Yeah.
why you took this approach and the litigation approach, because it's a very valuable asset you have, because
Right.
It seems like the pre-lit and everything's kind of the price is being driven down, and as much as people try to do automation attack,
Mhm.
it's like you got to hold these insurance companies accountable, otherwise they're just
Right.
going to lowball you.
I think you've been touching upon it this entire podcast, automation, right? And it's becoming more and more of a reality in today's atmosphere. I use ChatGPT. I use automated systems that allow me to do a task originally involved an hour. Now it takes 10 minutes, right? I can proofread emails, I can proofread documents, and it's incredible what that does. I haven't really explored AI or automation in terms of litigation. I think litigation, and this is the reason why a lot of volume practices don't necessarily engage in it. It's because it requires more of your time. You have to sit down, you have to speak to the clients, you have to prep the clients. You can't have a computer prep a client for a deposition. You can't have a computer take a deposition. You can't have a computer argue in front of a judge. Those are things that require way more involvement on your part. Automation is still something that I do incorporate in my litigation practice.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
You mentioned some communities. Are you talking about? I know Bob Simon has Justice HQ. There's Pilma. There's Fireproof. There's Crisp. There's a lot of these different masterminds. A lot of these communities. So
Right.
What are some of the communities that you've been involved with that you found valuable?
I've been involved in young lawyers associations because I'm in Miami. I'm in CABA. I'm involved there. So that's Cuban American Bar Association. More so, I think the unofficial communities, right? Like other smaller attorneys. We all stick by each other. I do rely on a lot of other smaller attorneys like myself to provide advice and help and guidance. Now, there are other communities that are non-legal that I do try to, involve myself in, like, church communities, communities amongst friends and family.
You mentioned you're the intake department, the litigator, the
Yeah.
pre-suit, the marketing specialist, everything. Let's walk through some of these, and just let's discuss kind of how you're approaching it, and just what your thoughts are. Like, intake, right? It's one thing, we touched on the marketing and getting belly to belly and getting the referrals. Like, how are you thinking about intake? Are you answering the calls? Do you have a third party? Like, what's your thoughts on intake?
So because I'm still the sole proprietor of this law firm, I have no receptionist, no paralegal. It's just me. I'm doing the intake. I'm doing everything. In my opinion, I'm never going to give up intake. For me, at least at this level of my practice, I'm always going to be the one to pick up the phone. I'm always going to hand the client over my cell phone. When clients, you want a client to be able to look through their contacts and be like, oh, that's my attorney, right? You want clients to get a call from you while they're with a group of friends and like, oh yeah, my attorney's calling. It's a cool thing to say, but I don't think that's something I'll ever delegate.
I love the mindset there. Intakes is so incredibly important. There's so many leaky buckets, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I like your just client first perspective, the cell phone, all the things. What are the things that you don't want to do? What are you like, hey, I'm hiring for this? Like I want this off my plate. Or maybe you don't mind doing it. Maybe it's just like, hey,
Right.
I need to spend time in these other areas.
I've always been a litigator my entire career. I was in the state attorney's office. I worked at a boutique personal injury law firm, which is what taught me what I know now. But I don't think I'm ever going to give up litigation, at least yet. But for now, it's pre-suit. I think litigation is going to require an attorney versus a paralegal. And that's something that I don't think I'm ever going to delegate, at least not to a non-lawyer. It's because the amount of exposure you have in court. I'm going to stick with delegating pre-suit for now.
Got it. So, you've built the foundation. You got more consistency with your community.
Yeah.
You had some nice settlements, some nice cases. It's kind of created some momentum. So what's your vision for the next 1, 3, 5 years?
Hopefully in the next 2 to 3 years, I'll have a team under me where I can definitely focus more on the bigger cases, the 6 to 7 figure cases that I have, the 8 figure cases. I want to be able to just invest all my attention on those cases and have paralegals essentially, or assistants, legal assistants, help me with the pre-suit cases and sort of run those while I'm dealing with the bigger cases. And also, I mean, it helps a lot. The bigger you have, the bigger team you have, the more intake you can do, the more cases you could bring in. Realistically, 50 to 60 cases is, for me at least, the ceiling. That's, if you're a personal injury firm, you're starting off, you want to know that if you hit 50 or 60 cases, you want to start looking for help, because at that point you can't manage everything. And I'm already exceeding that. So I'm in a really tight position where in order for me to progress, in order for me to feel more comfortable taking on more cases, I just need to hire a team. So when you reach that 50 and 60 case level, at least for me, that's a rule of thumb. That's like, hey, you got to sit down and look at your numbers and see, can I afford to hire somebody?
I think understanding your bandwidth and also, the amount of the values that you're going to get for your cases are going to be much higher on average. And, have you thought about, there's different attorneys, whether you're Michael Cowan, David Craig, and, you're Joe Freed that, specialize in truck. And then there's other individuals. I just talked to Michael McCready, who's kind of specializes, and I know specializes is one of those words, in declarations for advertising, but I mean, an expertise in, say, Michael McCready in premises liability. And then you got other individuals that do birth injuries or nursing home neglect cases. Have you thought about, like, hey, maybe I would approach this?
I would definitely want to specialize in a certain area of law. I haven't really discovered that yet. I am more interested in the premise cases, because those cases, the slip and falls, the trip and falls, those cases will typically end up in litigation. So I think when you're starting a legal practice like I am, you can't really afford to specialize, because I think you would be giving up a lot of momentum. I want to build enough capital to where now I could hire a team. I can start working with SEO, I can Google ads and all that stuff. You want to build yourself up, get enough capital so that you could start hiring people and focusing more on what you want to specialize.
I think it's an excellent strategy.
Yeah.
I kind of look at it as an hourglass. It's like, hey, start really broad, then discover what you have a purpose and expertise in, and then you can kind of go narrow, and then you start to become known there, and then you can make a decision to go wider because you have the capital to maybe go in some of these super competitive areas like auto, or the big truck cases. So I think that's smart. I hear a lot of these coaches and mentors, they're like, hey, you got a niche, you gotta specialize out of the gate. And I'm like, there's a time for it, but I don't know that it's out of the gate. So I think that's right.
I mean, look, there would be a lot of business that I'd be giving up, and a lot of opportunity, I think, to get those cases. Because at the end of the day, how do you get those cases when you're starting off? You want to be known in your community. You want to be known amongst your clients. You want your clients talking about their experiences with you. So you're not going to be able to get those cases from the get-go, I think, unless you've already established yourself at another firm, maybe. But I really think you need to create enough of a portfolio, enough of a profile, build enough capital before you can feel comfortable and do that.
I agree. And also, Florida PI, your market, incredibly saturated and incredibly competitive.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, massive firms. Of course, Morgan, and then you got Dan Newland in Orlando that spends a massive amount on advertising in one market.
I like to say I like to say that you've made it when you see somebody sitting on your face at a bus bench. All these attorneys advertising everywhere, man. It's on buses, bus benches, billboards. It's crazy. We have an oversaturated market, and that's where you got to really stand out. I think that's why when I created the name 305 Injury, it stands out. It's not the law offices of so-and-so, the law offices of so-and-so. You see that everywhere. Like, I just want it to be known as the Miami attorney, right? So just set yourself apart from that super saturated, realm of law.
I love it. It's simple. It's memorable. It stands out. It's got the localized feel to it. And Carlos, this has been amazing. One final question for our audience. They got this case. They want to take it to bat. They want to take it to the end, and they want to place it with you. How can they get in touch with you?
Oh, absolutely. My law firm is called 305 Injury. My name is Carlos Dominguez. If you Google me, Carlos Dominguez Miami, you'll find me. My handle is at 305 Injury. That's it. My phone number, you can reach out to our office. That's 305-615-5282. And Chris, it's been such a pleasure, man.
Carlos Dominguez is proof that you don't need a massive team, a big ad budget, or years of runway to build a winning firm. You need grit, clarity, and the courage to bet on yourself. If you found value in this episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. I'm Chris Stryer, and this is Personal Injury Mastermind. Catch you next time.